In Washington, as the autumn light casts long shadows across the White House, a striking message emerges ahead of the United Nations General Assembly. The administration has made clear President Donald Trump intends to launch a frontal assault on what he calls globalist organizations. These institutions, his team argues, have not strengthened but weakened the world order. It is a declaration that promises to echo far beyond the walls of the UN, setting the stage for confrontation, applause, and outrage in equal measure. Standing at the podium, White House spokeswoman Karoline Leavitt sharpened the narrative, delivering a carefully calibrated preview. The president will also touch upon how globalist institutions have significantly decayed the world order, and he will articulate his straightforward and constructive vision for the world, she told reporters, offering a glimpse of the fiery words soon to be carried to the world's diplomats. This framing is not new, but it is newly sharpened. Since his first term, Donald Trump has positioned himself as a skeptic, if not outright critic, of multilateralism. His 2017 UN debut was branded with his America First doctrine, a phrase that shocked some allies and delighted supporters back home. A year later, in 2018, he would go further, boasting that his administration had achieved more than any in US history, a remark that drew laughter from the General Assembly floor. Trump chuckled in return, but the symbolism was unmistakable. He was the outlier president who relished mocking global consensus. Now, in 2025, with a renewed grip on American politics and a sharpened electoral agenda, Trump is returning to familiar ground. His target is broad: the World Trade Organization, the International Monetary Fund, the World Health Organization, and even, at times, the United Nations itself. To Trump, these bodies represent not cooperation, but compromise, not strength, but weakness, and crucially, not America's gain, but America's loss. This worldview is steeped in domestic politics. To many of his supporters, globalism is more than just a policy debate. It is a rallying cry. It embodies the frustrations of workers who saw factories close, jobs shipped overseas, and trade deals that felt tilted against American interests. Trump has long tapped into these grievances, framing his battles with global institutions as battles for the soul of the American middle class. By attacking globalists, he positions himself as the defender of sovereignty, the protector of borders, and the champion of an America that negotiates alone, not in chorus with others. Yet the stakes extend far beyond electoral messaging. The UN General Assembly is not a campaign rally. It is the world's largest diplomatic stage, where nearly 200 nations send representatives, leaders, and sometimes adversaries, all under one roof. For decades, American presidents have used this platform to promote visions of global cooperation. Franklin Roosevelt's ideals laid the groundwork for the UN itself. John F. Kennedy rallied nations in the midst of nuclear peril. Barack Obama spoke of collective responsibility in a time of climate crisis. Trump's message that global institutions corrode rather than uphold world order strikes at the very foundation on which the Assembly was built. The reactions will be divided. European leaders, already wary after repeated clashes with Trump over NATO spending and trade tariffs, are bracing for another round of criticism. Nations in Africa, Asia, and Latin America, many of whom depend on UN programs for aid and stability, fear what American withdrawal or antagonism might mean for their futures. China, meanwhile, sees opportunity. Every time the US distances itself from multilateral institutions, Beijing steps forward to present itself as a responsible alternative, investing in development projects and expanding its Belt and Road Initiative. Russia, too, may welcome Trump's rhetoric, not because it trusts Washington, but because the weakening of global norms often plays into Moscow's hands. Inside the United States, the political calculation is clear. This speech will not only be directed at foreign diplomats, but also at American voters. Trump's team understands the double utility of such a high-profile address. Every phrase broadcast from the podium in New York will be replayed on televisions in Ohio, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. It will be cut into campaign ads, dissected on cable news, and discussed at rallies. The target audience is as much the farmer in Iowa as it is the ambassador in Geneva. Still, the White House insists this is not simply a wrecking ball moment. Karoline Leavitt emphasized that Trump intends to present what she called a constructive vision. That vision, insiders suggest, revolves around bilateralism, the idea that America is stronger negotiating directly with nations, one-on-one, rather than through sprawling multilateral frameworks. In trade, this means cutting deals country by country, rather than accepting WTO arbitration. In security, it means prioritizing bilateral defense agreements over global security pledges. To Trump, the rules of the game should be rewritten. Smaller tables, fewer players, and clear terms that put America first. But will the world listen? History suggests that Trump's UN appearances rarely fade into obscurity. In 2019, he used the assembly to rail against socialism and to chastise Iran. In 2020, he skipped in-person attendance altogether due to the pandemic, sending a video that lambasted China and the World Health Organization. Each time, his rhetoric drew headlines, sometimes ridicule, sometimes shock, but always attention. For Trump, attention itself is a currency. As the General Assembly convenes, security cordons tighten in Manhattan. Diplomats shuffle through metal detectors and flags of all nations ripple outside the iconic headquarters. Inside, the atmosphere is charged. Some expect confrontation. Others perhaps hope for surprise. Could Trump deliver a cooperative message cloaked in his rhetoric? Or will it be a speech remembered for its scorn, another strike against the fragile fabric of multilateral diplomacy? Observers note that even within Trump's camp, there are competing instincts. Some advisors see value in keeping allies close, recognizing that on issues like counterterrorism, pandemic preparedness, or climate resilience, the US cannot act entirely alone. Others push the harder line, insisting that every concession to a multilateral body is a betrayal of American sovereignty. This tension will play out not just in policy papers, but in the cadence and choice of words when Trump takes the podium. Around the world, ordinary citizens will also tune in. In Europe, many remember Trump's sharp rebukes of NATO and fear a repeat. In Asia, leaders gauge how his words might shape US-China competition. In the Middle East, nations wonder whether Trump will invoke Iran, Israel, or the shifting sands of oil politics. For humanitarian groups, the fear is that programs like refugee aid or climate initiatives could face cuts if America disengages further. Yet for Trump's base, the speech will likely be hailed as a moment of clarity. To them, globalists are faceless bureaucrats who have failed the American worker. To them, the UN is a stage for elites, detached from the struggles of real people. By confronting these organizations, Trump reinforces the narrative that he alone is willing to challenge a system many see as broken. As the world waits, one thing is certain. The United Nations, an institution born from the ashes of World War to promote unity, is about to host a leader determined to question its very purpose. His spokeswoman's preview, warning of decay in the world order, has already sent ripples through diplomatic circles. The full impact will be measured when Donald Trump himself steps to the microphone, gazes across the Chamber of Nations, and delivers his verdict. For some, it will be a necessary wake-up call. For others, a dangerous unraveling. But for everyone, it will be a reminder. The United Nations stage once again belongs to Donald Trump.